Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to another cartooning course with me, Nate Fakes. I appreciate you being here today. We're going to have some fun. Let me tell you, it's going to be fun. No, I promise. I will try and make this as interesting as possible. Why? Because I'm talking about squares today. Not just squares, panels. Now, what could be fun about those? How can I make panels fun? I thought about this all morning. Like, is this going to be, how can I really liven this up to make it fantastically, like, entertaining about comic panels? Well, there's not much I can do, but I'm going to try to hype you up about it, because you know what? It's an important thing about cartooning. You got to have, you don't have to have, but you know, most of the stuff is done in these little tiny panels that come a bigger picture. You know, I do single panel cartoons. I do, strip cartoons sometimes, and some of you guys do graphic novels, I'm sure. So there's a lot of different things, but I thought I'd just share with you like how I get my, for the example today, the panels in my gag cartoons. Very simple, right? Well, it's simple, but there's a little bit of a process to it, and I think you may find it insightful, because you know what? It took me a while to nail it, really, to get it down perfect, as funny as that sounds. So I'm going to start off by showing you, like, when I first did cartooning, you know, I started off like most people, a lot of people, traditionally with a marker and pen and ink and all that good stuff. So like this is an example of an old gag cartoon. This is from 2016, so not that old. But as you can see, you know, I inked in, this is all on a Bristol board. It's weird doing these on video because like I'll move the paper this way, but on the screen it's a different way. Ooh. Okay, that's strange. I'll stop now. But it is weird to me. I just want to make sure you guys can see this. There we go. I think that's a good angle. Anyway, so yeah, I hand drew the squares in just using a T-square, which I don't know where I put it at, but anyways, just did this on a drawing table. I taped this piece of paper down. I used a T-square and a ruler, and it's 5.5 by 5.5 inches. That's how big I'd make these. And to this day, I still make them this big. So what I would do then is scan this in a scanner, and then I'd upload it to the computer and then color it in Photoshop. Okay, so now everything is pretty well digital. I do all my panels and everything on the computer, and once I have a panel, I use the same panel over and over for thousands of comics. It's already done. So I wanted to show you like how to do it now on the computer. Now we're gonna bounce around a little bit. This is what maybe will make it entertaining. We're gonna bounce. I'm gonna go from here live, to I'm gonna take you to Photoshop on my MacBook and show you that way. And then I'm also gonna show you on my iPad Pro what I do from there. And again, this is how I do it. Your way is probably maybe different, but I just, you know, all these courses are kind of like what I do and what works for me. So I'm going to show you a few things, what I do to make it hopefully easy for you. It sounds so simple, right? Just a 5.5 by 5.5 inch panel, but there's some technical things behind it and how to like do layers and make it add your words and captions on them and everything. So all right, guys, I'm going to get off my weird looking face here and go to Photoshop now. So I will see you there. Okay, guys, here we are in Photoshop. What I'm going to do first is create a new one, and I'm going to just show you like how to make some squares in here. So I'm going to just take a random template. This one is 3000 by 3000 at 600 DPI. So if you have Photoshop, this is just an very easy way to do a square. Up here on the left in the tools section, you can see the little square. It's called rectangular marquee tool. You can take that and just drag it on the screen, and you see on the right of it, like bottom right hand side, it actually shows you the width of like how big it is. So you can make this into a 5.5 by 5.5 inch square simply looking at that. So you drag and you pull this square any way you want, make it the size that you want, And as you can see, I just have a random, this is not sized out correctly or anything, but random square. So, okay, it's like in a marquee format. How do I make that into a, how do I put the lines on that to make this a perfect square? Easy peasy. Just go to Edit on top, go down to Stroke. I don't know why they call it Stroke. It's kind of a funny name, but hey, I don't make the names for Photoshop, so I have no control over that. Stroke. Those silly Photoshop people. Anyway, you can choose a color. You can choose a width. I use for, here's another, exactly what I do. 8 pixels is what I use on a 600 DPI screen or canvas. So keep that in mind. You can change this to whatever you want. But I use 8 pixels for the width. Black. I keep this blending at normal and opacity at 100%. Just when you hit stroke, just hit OK. And oh my gosh, you have a panel. And to deselect, you can hit, what is it? File, image, I don't know. Just click on that. It'll deselect itself. Oh, there, duh, deselect. Okay, sorry, I'm like talking to myself. I'm hopping all over here. It's like one of these things where like I do it automatically. So like when it comes to actually reading, where you hit the certain things, I sometimes space out. But to deselect the marquee, you just go to select up here. That's what I did. But bam, look at that. I have a panel. So, okay, cool. So what about like, sometimes on my panels, I'll include text inside the panel. You know, like I did from that example I showed you live. I had the dad and the mom talking. How do I space out the text to make it look good? Here's a trick I have done. I actually did this on actual paper and I scanned it in, but I measured out some lines. I made them 1/4 of an inch height-wise each way. Is that the right way to say it? You'll see what I mean. Each one's 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch, basically making lines that are spaced out by 1 millimeter. I know that sounds very confusing, but let me show you. I have saved in here on Dropbox. These are different comic panels. So as you can see, I've already gone through and I've made all the panels I need for basically anything I do. I have a 5.5 by 5.5 inch, which I use for all my syndicated comics. And I have some regular panels and I have some bigger ones, and I can always change these up. But let me just click on this one. In the lines, you see how there's lines on here? That's what I'm talking about. This is 1/4 of an inch. That's a millimeter. 1/4 of an inch, millimeter, 1/4 of an inch. Okay. All the way up. I have this on a different layer. Okay. So like the top layer is the actual panel. Below that, whoa, dropping stuff here. I dropped my microphone. Below that is the lines. And so when you go through this, this is basically, the lines are my rough layer. So I included this on here. I uploaded it and added it onto my Photoshop panel. And then you can make them disappear just by clicking on it and they disappear. But I use that to space out my captions because it keeps it all nice and tidy and I'm not all over the place. I'm an awful, awful writer. My penmanship is horrible, like if I don't have any kind of guidance, and these lines help me out immensely. So again, I drew these out actually with just a pencil. I scanned them in and added it just as a file, PNG file, and then I included it in my my square. And that is an awesome way of keeping everything clean. So now what I'm going to do is hop from here on the computer to my iPad Pro. And let me just tell you this, all this stuff that you're seeing on Photoshop, I have in my iPad Pro. So let's go ahead and go over there and I'm going to show you what I do from this point, okay? All right, guys, what I'm going to do now is go to my favorite software of all time for creating comics, Procreate. And as you can see, here is my lovely panel that I created on Photoshop. And to get that, all I did was you can go to import and you can just hit the import any of these just directly from there. So I'm just going to show you, this is actually a comic I killed a while back, but you can see everything's on different layers. So like down here on layer 3 is my sketch layer. this is where I have the lines. This will all be erased or taken away once the final art is on there. Next is what I did was I added the pencils. And this again is a comic I killed. Let me make this a little bit darker here. But you see how, ignore the joke, and then you can see why I killed it probably. I don't think anyone's into Cardi B jokes these days, as far as I know. But I think it's a good example to show you like a lot of writing and kind of like what I use the lines for. So you see how I just used the lines for the text, like it lines up perfectly. And then on the below part, I have no lines, and you can see how bad my writing is. So it's a good thing for the lines. When you go then to your final, you can see again, I can take this off the screen, the line work, and you can see how nicely spaced out that is for the final product. So it's a cool way of creating awesome looking panels that line up great. Again, here's another example of mine. Even for this one, I have only just, very little text on it. But here in my layers, you can see, let's take away a lot of these. Take away all the layers. Everything's disappearing. All right, here's my rough version though, right there. And you can see, even there, I have it all lined up with my lines in there. And it panned out perfectly. And then we add everything back. Bam. And take away the rough versions. And look how cleaned up that is. See what I mean? It's cool about Procreate. You can take away the ink. And whoa, now it looks really weird. So anyways, yeah, guys, that's a really quick tutorial on how I create my squares. And you can see it's perfectly square, looks great, awesome. And I just use the same thing over and over again, and that's that. So real quick, I'm just gonna say bye to you live, because I know you guys want to see me again, right? I wanted to say hello to you. So okay, you probably didn't, but that's okay. I'm just gonna close out that way, and I'll see you there. I'm back. I'm back in my element here. It's me, not Procreate, not Photoshop, any of that stuff. It's just me again. Like I said, I'm back. I'll be back. I just want to say bye. I want to say, hey, I'll see you later. I hope you guys got something out of this. It's a cool little process. I mean, again, it's a simple little square, nothing too exciting, right? But it's true. There's a little bit of technicalities behind it, and that's how I do it. So yeah, I think it's going to be useful for you if you like gag cartoons. Speaking of gag cartoons, you guys, I keep mentioning this. I'm getting closer and closer to putting together my big, awesome new cartooning course, which I'm really excited about. Don't have a launch date yet, and I'm still piecing everything together, so it's going to be a little while. It's going to be a while. But get ready for it, and I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, that being said, if you haven't taken my free course yet, I'm sure you have, right? By this time, I'm sure you have, right? You're used to the theme music I have and all that good stuff. But if you haven't, hey, check it out. It's totally free. I have that free course on the link below or above, wherever you're at, whatever you're looking at this on. It's somewhere, I'm sure. It's like litter to me. I toss it everywhere. So anyways, guys, have a good day, and please leave your comments below. Anxious to hear your thoughts on this, and I'll talk to you later.